Okay, let's talk about something we all deal with every single day: food. More specifically, we're diving into meat and the huge, kind of invisible forces that are shaping what actually ends up on our plates. And, what that means for all of us.
But first, let's start with a question that seems simple, but is actually incredibly complicated. Why is it that so many of us see a dog as part of the family, but a pig as, well, bacon? It's a question that really cuts to the heart of our assumptions, and it pretty much sets the stage for everything we're about to get into.
There's actually a name for this. A social psychologist, Dr. Melanie Joy, she calls it carnism. She describes it as this invisible belief system that basically conditions us to eat certain animals. It's the ideology that makes eating meat feel like a given, something that's just normal and necessary, instead of a conscious choice. And it's this invisible system that we're going to unpack today.
So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at the psychology behind our food choices. Then we'll see how new generations are starting to challenge all of this. After that, we'll zoom out to see the global picture, look at the serious threats our current system is facing, and finally, explore the race to reinvent meat itself.
All right, first up, let's dig into those unspoken rules of the dinner table and the psychology that kind of keeps this whole carnism thing chugging along.
So how does a system like this stick around? Well, researchers have pinned it down into what they call the 4 Ns. We tell ourselves that eating meat is natural, because humans are omnivores. It's normal, since pretty much everyone does it. It's necessary for protein and all that. And of course, it's nice. It just tastes good. These 4 arguments really are the bedrock of the whole ideology, and they make it incredibly tough to challenge.
But that bedrock, it's definitely starting to show some cracks. Let's take a look at how younger generations, with a totally different set of values and instant access to information, are coming at this whole food thing from a new angle.
Yeah, we're seeing a real shift here. Millennials, they often see food as a social thing, right? A way to connect. They love customizing their meals and they're aware of the ethical details. Gen Z, though, they're digital natives. They are hugely driven by sustainability and are way more likely to prefer plant-based foods. Now, both of them value convenience, for sure, but the why behind their choices is starting to look really, really different.
And the data? Well, it backs this up completely. A recent study found that almost 68% of young consumers are personalizing their diets. This isn't just about jumping on a fad. It's about tailoring what they eat to their specific health goals and more, their personal values. The whole one-size-fits-all meal is on its way out, fast.
And this all points to a massive demand for transparency. Nearly 62% of young people are now actually reading the food labels. They want to know what's in their food, where it came from, how it was made. This is a generation that does its homework before it eats.
And this right here, this is the crucial part. We're seeing a huge cultural shift. A staggering 44% of young people say they're moving towards a vegan diet. Now, that doesn't mean they're all going fully vegan tomorrow, but it shows this incredibly powerful trend away from animal products. And what's driving it? Those core Gen Z values, animal welfare and the environment.
Okay, so now let's zoom out and look at the whole planet. Because while young people in some Western countries are cutting back on meat, the story worldwide is, well, it's a lot more complicated.
I mean, just look at this split. It's wild. Since 2010, meat consumption per person in Europe has actually dropped by almost 19%, mostly because of prices and environmental concerns. But in the US, it's gone up by 10%. You've got 2 massive Western markets just heading in completely opposite directions.
And at the very same time as incomes are rising across Asia, so is the demand for meat. Consumption per person there has literally doubled since 1990. So even as some developed nations are cutting back, you have these rapidly growing economies that are fueling this unprecedented global hunger for meat.
So why is this a big deal? It all comes down to a budget, a carbon budget. To keep global warming within those critical limits, scientists figure our entire food system can only emit about 390 more gigatons of greenhouse gases, period. At the rate we're going, we're on track to blow right past that budget.
This soaring global demand isn't just a climate problem either. It's creating a food system that is bigger, more concentrated, and more fragile than ever. It's a system that's seriously under threat.
Let's just talk risk for a second. Experts estimate that a single major outbreak of foot and mouth disease in the US could cost the economy $200 billion. That's the price you pay for a system where animals are packed together and shipped all over the place. One single disease can trigger an economic disaster.
And this isn't some far-off what-if scenario. Just think about the recent bird flu outbreak. It caused egg prices to shoot up by 350% in just 1 year. These systemic shocks don't just affect farmers, they hit every single one of us, right in the wallet.
And a scale of the loss, it's just hard to even wrap your head around. That same outbreak led to the loss of 169 million birds in the US alone. It just goes to show how incredibly vulnerable our system is.
So what does this mean for your next trip to the store? Well, the USDA is already warning that another threat, a nasty little parasite called the New World screwworm, could squeeze cattle supplies and push ground beef to $10 a pound in just the next couple of years. This isn't a problem for our grandkids. It's an immediate threat to our food prices.
So when you're facing climate deadlines and a super fragile system, what do? Well, a whole new industry is racing to come up with an answer. It's the race to reinvent meat, and the clock is ticking, loudly.
Researchers have mapped this out, and the timeline is, honestly, it's tight. We're in the scaling phase right now, but 2026, that's the critical takeoff window. If alternative proteins don't start to get mass adoption around then, it might become flat out impossible for our food system to stay within its carbon budget. By 2050, it's just too late.
And I think this quote from climate researcher Galina Hale just hits the nail on the head. This whole transition to alternative proteins can't just be some niche lifestyle choice. For it to work on the scale and at the speed we need, it has to have the same kind of big-time support, research funding, policy changes, public investment that helped things like solar and wind power really take off.
So, we're really at a crossroads. We have this invisible ideology that's being challenged by a new generation, a global appetite that's pulling us in totally different directions, and a system that's groaning under its own weight. The tech to build something new is here, but that window to act, it's closing, and it's closing fast. The future of food is being written right now, in this decade. So the only real question left is, what's going to be on your plate?